Welcome to another episode of the Soul Minded Business Podcast. This is your host, JD Ross. We're going to talk about today is, what do you want? It's very, very important that you say, what exactly is it I want? And you've heard that referenced by several of our guests, defining what it is that you want in life and then pursuing it. So on this one, which is going to be a solo podcast, I'm going to be talking about what do you want, what do you don't want, the importance of it, and then some tips on finding that. So let's start there. What if somebody asks you that question, what is it that you want? And you go, I'm not so sure. I've answered that way before. I've asked people that question. They've answered that way before. And they look at you in this deer in the headlights look like, I don't know. And that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't mean that you should. It means that you should be searching for it. I would recommend that. I had a friend of mine that was in his 70s at the time. And he said, I'm still looking. I'm still not so sure what I want to do. And that's fine. It's a journey that we go on. But let me give you some tips here on what do you do to find out what it is that you want? What are some things you can do? So let me go through these. There are 9 of them. 1, what did you dream of doing when you were a kid? Kind of lost in life as you get older about, you lose sight of what gave you joy as a kid. Now, obviously, some time's passed. I used to have these dreams of being a professional football player. That's not going to happen now. Yeah, I believe anything's possible, but not probable in some cases. But there were some things that you did as a kid that may apply now. What kind of things just gave you joy as a kid? Remember back on those things. Second thing is, take a really good personality test. And we're going to have that listed on our show notes on the website, on one that I took. I mean, a really good one, not one that's going to apply a label to you or anybody else. Don't try to box people into those labels or even box yourself into those labels. That's the downside of some of those personality tests. You will hear people say, well, I'm X and they're X. Or I'm X and they're Y, however you want to look at it. It depends on the view. And they can't do this because they're that. And I can't do this because I'm this. That is not true. Some of the personality profiles, if designed to put you in a box and label you, watch out for those. But I ran across one, and I've taken several of them. I've ran across one that described more of who I am and how I view life. And when I saw it and read it, I said, oh, that makes all the sense in the world now to me. I said, okay, well, it describes where I've succeeded and where I haven't. And the view, again, it doesn't mean that you can't change. In fact, you can. Those are meant to raise your level of self-awareness. If you're only going to use those type things to place you in a position to where I am made that way, I can't change that, wrong use of it. And I've given many, taught on some, and then went through it. Third thing is, ask people around you what they see, what they see you do. If you've ever seen anybody that was around you and saw you do something and said, oh, you know what? I just saw something that I believe is your calling. You just look so natural doing it. I've had some friends over the past years that have said that to me. Oh, I see exactly what you're supposed to be doing, whether you see it or not. From an outside in, I see what it is that you're supposed to do. So that's what they see or what you're calling. Now, you got to be careful where this is coming from. Are their friends well-founded? Are they coming from the right place? What are their motives? Are they just trying to lead you down that path? That's a whole nother conversation right there. But are they leading you down the path of what they want? That's the point I was trying to make. Think about what they see. What are they telling you? And where are they coming from with it? So that's the third thing. Fourth thing is, look for things that overlap. Look for things in your life that overlap. I'll use this one as an example too. I never in my wildest dreams, thought I'd do in a podcast or putting anything on YouTube. The intent is not the number of followers or the attention I'm getting. Being somewhat introverted, that's not the desire. but the desire to learn and share and listen to others that have succeeded or are on a journey that are willing to tell you about it, a genuine, authentic voice from some of our guests that will say, here is where I am on this journey, is very interesting to me. Listening and sharing that information is very interesting to me. And then forming new approaches, businesses, building those relationships to leverage what we're learning, there's a combination of the two. And then as I launch one of these businesses that you'll hear about, you'll see where there's a third thing that's coming in there as a connection. So that's the fourth point. Fifth point, does it have a positive impact on others? Not surprising with the intent of this podcast and what you've heard so far that I would say that one. Does it have a positive impact on the world around you, on others? Look, the other things are going to fade that we're pursuing. The impact we have on others will not. If there's a degree in that dream and that vision and that pursuit and what you want that has an impact on others around you, then you're probably going to stick with it when it gets tough. So make sure it has that. Does it have a positive impact in some way on those around you? Is it fun? Take a deep, slow breath on this one. Is it fun? Life does not have to be so heavy, so dark, so challenging. Is it fun? I asked my son about that one day. He asked me about that. We were looking at a business opportunity, and he was 12 at the time. It's his idea to start it. I said, well, son, if we're going to start this business, here's what we have to consider. I'd already started. It has to have an impact on the world around you, positive impact on the world around you on these things. But I had started to sit down with him and teach him about return on investment. I had mapped it out. I'm going to say, all right, son, here's the thing. You got to decide how much time it's going to take, how much money it's going to take, how much money you might make from it. Who do you need to be involved in it? What are you willing to sacrifice? I had gone through all the steps. And he goes, at the age of 12, he goes, okay, Dad, you forgot one. I said, what's that? He said, is it fun? And I went, okay, well, that changed my view of ROI. That ought to be one that ought to be in it from the very beginning, and it will be in everything that we produce, create, explore, and run with, is to say, okay, is there a degree of fun in it? Seventh thing, do others that can help you gravitate towards you? So you're on this track and you say, here's what it is that I want. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I'm pursuing. If you get it right with the best of intentions in covering some of the things I just mentioned, joy, fun, have a positive impact, you will notice that some other people will gravitate towards you. On other podcasts going forward and from a guest, you're going to have to be careful who gravitates towards you and, the motive of it and the intent. But you will notice that with some people coming forward and stepping up to help you out, if you get on the right path, who are the others that are gravitating towards you? And notice who shows up to help. Eighth thing, are you willing to do the hard work? Yes, I wish I could remove that one from the list, but you can't. Are you willing to do the hard work? Are you willing to get up at 4 or 5 or stay up late at night? Are you willing to do some of it on the weekends? Are you willing to sacrifice some things? Are you willing to sacrifice some things to make it happen? Are you willing to do the hard work? There are not many things worth pursuing that won't have hard work involved in it, because it will mean a sacrifice. You will have to give something up. And then the last one, and I'm going to mention this one because it's a business and it's a life, and it's pursuing things. Can you make money at it? If it's a business that you can make money at, if it's a business that adds value, if you're doing something that adds value, there will be a monetary exchange in most cases. If you're doing something great, charge for it if you can. Why do I say that? Yeah. Okay, I could go through all these steps and say, all right, well, I enjoy sitting on the couch eating Cheetos. I enjoy watching something on TV. I find joy in, you name it, eating a certain type of food or whatever that is. And people that are like me gravitate towards me with that. You could almost rip off a majority of these things and not ask yourself the question, can I make money at it? And listen, if you're going to sit on the couch and eat Cheetos, or you're going to binge on certain things, and then you got to be thinking about, okay, hang on a second. There ought to be some kind of exchange in value here, some kind of monetary exchange. So those are the things that will help you kind of find that. There'll be some experimenting. You're going to have to do some experimenting and finding what it is that you want. Not a very straight path. You just have to experiment and try, test fast, fail fast, and adjust, which is a statement I heard years ago from Tom Peters. But you're going to have to do some trying. But once you see that, picture it, see it, map it out, state it, post-it notes, put it so clear in your head. Write down what it is that you want and look at it every single month, every single day, every single week. Have those conversations with people on a similar track, but keep what it is in your view. Don't miss sight of it. Also, for some reason, we feel guilty about saying, here is what I want. Don't. Some reason we feel guilty about saying, I want this. Whether we say it out loud or we say it to ourselves. I want this. Something as we grow older or something in the world says, you can't have what you want. You can't have what you want. You just have to go out and get it. Don't feel guilty about saying, that is what I want. This is assuming that is going to be a good thing with a good intentions. If it's not a good thing with the best of intentions or the best that you can get, then watch what it is that you're pursuing. But if it lines up with the things I mentioned before, do not feel guilty about saying, that is what I want, and I'm going to go after it. And you're going to have to take some chances, and you're going to have to fail sometimes, and you have to get back up and go after it again. But keep it in line. Don't give up on that. If you just say, I don't know what it is that I want, but I'm just going to go through this life and rock along with the stream, there's a chance that the stream will not take you where you want to go unless you define where it is you want to go. And equally as important as saying what it is that you want is saying what you don't want, the feelings that you don't want, the things that make you uncomfortable. I'm not talking about uncomfortable from a challenging standpoint. Being uncomfortable is extremely important in order to get what you want. If it's the right kind of discomfort, if it comes from growth, if it's being around a set group of people or listening to something that you go, okay, in my gut, I know that's not right, then distance yourself. What is it that you don't want? It's equally important, because if you rock along with the stream, as I mentioned before, there's a chance you're going to end up just where you don't want to be. And I'm going to conclude on this point. When it comes to change, and all this will take great change, when you define what it is that you want, or at least decide you're going to experiment to find that, get uncomfortable with that, decide what it is that you don't want. At one point, you're going to have to decide if you're going to go for it. This is what I want, and I'm going to go for it, all in. And as you define that, two things are going to happen. And they're based on fear. Both are based on fear. Saw a post the other day on skateboarding. I don't know much about skateboarding, but I think they go up to the top in the arena, whatever that surface is that they skate on. And once they get to the top and they realize they're getting ready to go down into the middle and do the trick, there's a commitment point. There's a commitment point saying, I want that, and I'm going to do this well, and now I'm committed to do it. If you get up to the top and you see that, and it's right before you, and you go, but I'm not so sure that I can, or I'm not so sure that's what I want, that's fear creeping in, and there's a chance you're going to fail. Remove the chances of failure. Failure is good as you learn and grow, but remove the chance of failure that is based on fear. I want you to find what it is that you want, commit, and then go for it. And then the last point, and I've seen a lot of people get to that point, they see it, they're ready to do it, and then they blink because of this. There's a degree of unknown in this step of pursuing it. And in that degree of unknown, just say an example of personal change. We all know people that wake up every day in anger. Or they wake up every day looking to fight something. Or they wake up every day to try to prove that they're better than somebody else. They know they don't want to feel that way. They know they want to go to a different place where there's more peace and not feel that way. But when you get in that spot and you say, I don't want this, I want that, it's difficult to make the transition. Because what happens is you know that place where the garbage is. You've lived in it. You know it. You're comfortable in it. Or you're uncomfortable in it, but you're comfortable staying in it because it won't cause you to change. But what you don't know is what is on the other side of it. What you don't know is if you remove the issue that's keeping you from where you want to go, what does life look like? And that is where the uncertainty and the fear creeps in. So let me just conclude this podcast with this. Be very intentional about saying what it is that I want. And if you don't know, try, test some things. There's plenty more guidelines of what I mentioned, but those are just some steps. Define what you want, what you don't want, and then when you see it, create the habits and the right things to go after it. And with always, we wish you all the best and peace.